Isiah Factor Uncensored starts now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. The entire country has been celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day. That brings into question, with this current political climate, how safe is his legacy and what he stood for? We brought in some experts tonight to break it all down right here on The Factor. Let's get to the conversation. We have State Representative Ron Reynolds and Bishop James Dixon. First of all, when you guys think about Dr. King and his contribution to society, and not only America, but the world, your thoughts, Representative Reynolds?
Isiah, as we celebrate Dr. King's Day today, I reflect on a transformational figure, not just for America, but this whole world. This was a man of the ages, one of the most instrumental men of the world in terms of how he transformed race and race relations in this country, and I would argue the world, in terms of his nonviolence movement that really was transformational in gaining access for African Americans, breaking barriers of Jim Crow, and really being that kind of moral figure that changed this nation.
Bishop Dixon, you also strive to make a difference in the community, just like Representative Reynolds, obviously following behind the steps of Dr. Martin Luther King. Big shoes to fill, but your thoughts about how much he's made a difference in this world.
Well, thank you, Isiah, for having us on. Dr. King's difference is not measurable, it's incalculable. One of the things that we have to remember is that he challenged the nation to live up to the ideals of its own constitution and its own documents, sacred documents. And the nation still has not reached it. But Dr. King understood how to argue against the nation's practices based on the nation's published principles, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And he talked about justice, freedom, and equality from the perspective of what was theologically correct and sociologically correct, and was able to merge those two, theology and sociology, to create a message that challenged the consciousness of this nation to live up to the true meaning of its creed. And today, all of us who are serving are inspired to try and do the same, because as we know now, this America needs to hear that message and be challenged by it more now than ever.
So, gentlemen, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here also on The Factor is to talk about Dr. King's legacy in this current political climate. Is it in jeopardy of being canceled? Representative Reynolds, let's hear from you.
Isiah, absolutely, it is being jeopardy of being canceled because President Trump is doing everything he can to erase diversity, equity, and inclusion, critical race theory, anything that talked about the history of this country that was built on the backs of African-American slaves. They don't want to talk about race. They don't want to talk about racism. They don't want to talk about Jim Crow. They want to etch a sketch it to act like it didn't exist. And the contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King is a present reminder of the invidious discrimination and this nation's original sin, which was slavery. So yes, it is in jeopardy. That is not a hyperbolic statement. That is real. We're seeing it right before our very eyes, where they're erasing things, not being able to teach things in school, canceling textbooks, and ending holidays. I don't see President Trump celebrating MLK Day today. I don't see this type of history of presidents before him that embraced the evolution and the progress of this country. I don't see that anymore. I see a president that is hell-bent on, I hate to say it, Isiah, white supremacy.
All right, Bishop Dixon, let's bring you in. Your thoughts about where we stand now in society when it comes to Dr. King's legacy and the current political climate.
I think we have to be clear that it's going to be up to people of consciousness, black, white, brown, and otherwise, to maintain a vigilance as it relates to Dr. King's legacy. And we've got to be loud enough, that we can't be silenced. Today, we do know that the MAGA regime is bent on erasure and erasing that legacy. Charlie Kirk is a prime example of the fact that here you have a young man who can, out of ignorance and arrogance, declared that Dr. King was a buffoon, that he disagreed with the civil rights movement and all that it accomplished. And there's no real American backlash. And it seems to be a contradiction as to what many of us think happens to be truly American. And I think that's where the real tension lies. There are those who think that Americanism, true Americanism, is exactly the same as racism. That is our issue. So Dr. King's legacy is in jeopardy because those who are in power have.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his legacy, and will it survive in this political climate? The other question is, what is our role as a people? And are we doing enough? Let's get back to the conversation.
And what do you think, for both of you, the responsibility of the benefactors of Dr. King's work? What should they be doing? What should we be doing now if we feel like society is in the process of canceling him? What should our actions be?
Well, Isiah, I think our actions should be, first of all, making sure that we fulfill his dream, that people will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. We haven't reached a post-racial America. In many respects, under this Trump Project 2025 environment, we're going backwards. So we have a collective responsibility, not just as Black people, but people of good conscience that want to be on the right side of history, white, Black, Asian, Hispanic, to say, in this America, we will fulfill Dr. King's dream. We will work together in a harmonious racial democracy to work together to build a country that's based on doing what's best for all people. And there's really only one race, and that's the human race, and not to be divided based on skin color. That is what Dr. King truly worked for. He died for, he sacrificed for, and it's up to us as the benefactors. We stand on his shoulders. So we have a responsibility to pay it forward, to make sure that we leave this place better than we inherited it. And Dr. King, I can see him turning over in his grave by what's happening under this Trump administration. So all of us have a responsibility. There's no saviors. There's nobody coming to save us. We must be the change that we want to see. And it starts with each and every one of us.
Bishop Dixon?
So I think Ron's absolutely correct. But I think in addition to that, we've got to do more than have a parade. I believe in the parade. I believe in the breakfasts. I believe in the formal programs that inspire us. But there's got to be strategic coalescing around ideals and principles. Right now, there is not a solid, unified movement of people of consciousness, regardless of culture and color and creed, who understand that our mission has to be beyond a moment. We enjoy moments when we celebrate Dr. King Day. There's going to be a glorious parade. I'll be there. We've got an event at our church on this coming Sunday at 5 o'clock. I'll be there. There are other events happening. But moments don't change a nation. Movements do. And there's got to be a movement of greater force than a movement that is anti-American, anti-justice, anti-equality. We can't just talk about it. We've got to be about it. And challenging this system, you can't challenge what you can't change what you don't challenge. You can't challenge what you won't confront. We've got to confront what's ill in our nation and challenge this nation to change. The consciousness of America has to be put on trial. The consciousness of America has to be put on trial, and the verdict has to be an honest verdict. And today, if we don't do that, we're going to forfeit the dream and miss out on the vision of building the beloved community.
All right, gentlemen. That's a lot to take in, and we appreciate your time and your insight, Bishop Dixon. Very important information and message there for our viewers tonight. Representative Reynolds, we want to thank you both for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. And of course, we'll continue our coverage. We'll be back with more Factor Uncensored in just a moment.
This program is being brought to you by Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored from downtown Houston. We're here at City Hall, where we had a conversation with Mayor John Whitmire about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his legacy, and what can we expect from the city when it comes to diversity. Now, when you think about the idea of Dr. Martin Luther King and what he stands for or has stood for decades now, in this current political climate that we're in, how do you keep that going in Houston without stepping on anyone's toes or offending anyone in an era where people are like, oh, that's DEI or that's diversity, and there's no place for that here in this country?
Well, that philosophy is wrong. That belief is wrong. But I've been dealing with hot public issues for years, and I don't even consider this a hot one, quite frankly. This is just, I preach bringing Houston together. We're very diverse, but I'm about uniting the community. But let me tell you, one was really hot. In 1976, Sophronia Thompson, colleague in the Texas House, wanted to make Martin Luther King's birthday a state holiday. Now, you know, the world was different in 1976. We've come a long ways. We got a long ways to go. But I came as a Houstonian to the legislature out of Northwest Houston we had to do a lot of educating, and we had to stand our ground. So it is a state holiday. It's been recognized with parades for over 40 years that were separated. So, you know, I just have a record of doing the right thing and suffering the consequences, but I have no fallout from this. You know, anybody don't like what I did, you know, shame on them. I'm doing the right thing, and the challenge is for us to tell the story of Dr. King to our young people. And I speak at MLK programs on a regular basis, have for as a senator for years. The way we're going to honor Dr. King is to spread his message, particularly young people, or our diversity in Houston. Think about so many immigrants in Houston. They're not that familiar. He's a worldwide iconic figure, but have they ever really celebrated Dr. King's birthday around the world like they should? Well, now they're Houstonians, now they're Texans. And so we want young people in all of our schools, regardless of whether it's what school district, we need to talk about it because, you know, that's how lessons are lost. So that's another benefit of young people now will hear about the parade because it always did kind of divide the community. You know, which parade you want to go to? That's always been kind of a question.
Right.
And as a representative of the community, I tried to do both, but you really don't do service to either one of them. If I spend a few little time there and then a little time there, I miss the full impact, and that's what's being accomplished is the full impact of honoring Dr. King.
And when we think about Dr. King and his legacy and the work that he did, what are you doing to further that as mayor of Houston when you're talking about bringing the community together, embracing diversity and people in the most diverse city in the country? What are you doing to further that message and
being inclusive of all of our communities? Our campaign, Isiah, I wanted City Hall to look like Houston. We need Spanish-speaking skills at City Hall. The Asian community needs to be included in City Hall. My health director is a Vietnamese American, smart as she can be, planning director, but I can go across. My chief of staff's African American, my communication director, African American. You know, I'm just very blessed that I was raised to treat people the way you want to be treated. And if you do that, you know, we have unity because I don't profile or classify people. Now, I grew up in Houston. I said we've come a long ways. I've represented a majority-minority district. I learned very early that African Americans, I ran at 22, and I was elected by Independent Heights, a proud African American community. They elected me at 22, so I learned very early that African Americans will give young people a chance, an opportunity. So obviously, I've worked close with all of our communities for many years in the legislature to get things done. But, you know, Houston's a great city. You know that, and great people. If we can have sports events, faith events, iconic events like Dr. King's legacy, man, that's why we're on a leave the place better than the one you found. And that applies to city government.
We'll continue our conversation with the mayor after the break. Stay with us. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're going to pick up our conversation with Mayor John Whitmire here at City Hall. Let's get back to it.
One of the things you mentioned was when you came in, you wanted to increase the diversity because obviously there were a lot of black employees with the city of Houston. Many of them back then, and I can recall, they were concerned that, okay, we're going to be pushed out, and now more Hispanics are going to be brought in. And I'm sure you've heard that.
Oh, I witnessed it, made certain that everyone understood my mission, representing all Houstonians, but I really wanted City Hall to look like Houston. Now, there's been no retreat from African Americans playing a major role in running the city. My neighborhood department, my human resources. I think people got a little rattled over maybe a change in police chief, but that came about by what was best for HPD and for our community. And I'm pleased with that transition. But, you know, this is a great city and very diverse, and you can't imagine. People ask me all the time, what were you most surprised about? The sheer size of our city. I know it in numerical numbers, over 600 square miles, but until you try to attend events in Kingwood and then go to Fort Bend, we've got part of the city of Houston in Fort Bend. It's a major undertaking. So I needed it. It's what my legacy is include everyone. People ask me, and you and I have known each other for years, am I having fun? No, I'm not having fun. And I didn't run to have fun, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing because I want to use my relationships and experience to get things done. And we were suffering, quite frankly, from years of neglect on our infrastructure. I think we had public safety concerns. And I know for a fact that we're going in the right direction. Living proof of it by the Unity Parade on Monday. That needed to happen. And my team, I got probably the best team in recent history, people that actually came out of retirement to work for me, of all persuasions and all. People retired and they came back because they know I'm a can-do person. Let's get it done. What you see is what you get. And getting back to how did I deal with the resistance to this? You know, you'd be surprised maybe if there's much, they're being quiet about it because I've got a record on the Senate floor of just saying it like it needs to be said.
We'll be back with more Factor Uncensored in just a moment when we ask the question, what is the state of the black economy? We'll be back.
You're watching the Isiah Factor Uncensored.
And welcome back to the second half hour, The Factor Uncensored, on this Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're here in downtown Houston at City Hall. We wanted to take a look at the black family and its economy, the finances. How are we doing under the current Trump administration? We brought in an expert to talk about it. Let's get to it.
Joining us now here on The Factor Uncensored, we have with us Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld, a political analyst here on The Factor. And one of the things we task him with doing is figuring out the state of Black America financially in this era of President Trump. Also, as a result, it's Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Now, in the first Trump administration, the president said that he did great things, incredible things for the Black community. Unemployment was at an all-time low. And now many people are saying, well, not so much this current term. Well, we brought in Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld to check the facts on that. And where do we stand when it comes to the Black community financially and other communities of color under the Trump administration, the first Trump administration and the current with Dr. von Biedenfeld?
Well, absolutely. I do agree with President Trump that his first term did see record lows in Black unemployment. We did see a number of Black cabinet officials or subsecretaries and a number of high-level appointments. In the second term, we have not seen that same level. And we've also seen a number of cabinet officials, senior generals, including the second chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, an Air Force general who is Black or African-American, replaced by a white Joint Chiefs of Staff chair. So in the second term, I think we've seen at the highest levels of leadership a bit of a change in course versus the first term. And additionally, economically, we have not seen the same programs. The argument could be made that many of the pre-COVID efforts that then President Trump in the first term capitalized on have now lost momentum in the second term. And so the focus on tariffs and other economic measures as opposed to government stimulus have impacted the Black community. The economic position has not changed substantially, and Black unemployment is not as reduced or protected as it was under the first Trump administration.
Now, when it comes to philosophy and the direction his administration has taken in his second term, this term, what do you think caused that? And it's an abrupt, drastic. At one point, he was bragging about giving Black HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, funds, money to survive and to expand. And now it's like end of diversity, equity, and inclusion, no more affirmative action. You know, what has changed that would prompt this from your expert opinion?
No, and we've seen quite a bit of influence in the current administration's cabinet officials where qualifications in the first Trump administration were a lot more traditional, much more based on experience in government service and education. And in the second term, it's been a lot more celebrity status. So a lot more of the cabinet official representation and prestige is drawn from celebrity or wealth, and as opposed to actual competence or demonstrated expertise in federal government affairs. And so in that sense, these anti-DEI measures that have been implemented, removing tributes to African-American soldiers in Europe and other areas of sort of removal of Colin Powell's legacy and certain Buffalo Soldiers things later replaced, but why were they removed in the first place? I think has to deal with the idea of a lot more celebrity emphasis in this administration and a bit of retribution. This idea that President Trump believes that the second election, prospectively, that President Biden then is alleged to have won, was stolen from him. And so in this term, he's not trying to appease people. He's letting people know, perhaps an analogy to Justice Clarence Thomas, who became very quiet after the Anita Hill allegations, almost a resentment towards appeasing people and building consensus. So this administration is a lot more built on we're the right way or the wrong way, as opposed to building consensus or conciliation towards a second term. He's term limited. He can't run for a third term. So in this term, President Trump gets to focus on a lot more of the qualitative and opinion or feeling aspects of his in his cabinet's opinions, as opposed to the first term, where when you're seeking reelection for a second term, you need to walk the line a little bit more tightly.
We talk about President Trump, and he has 3 years left in office. And you said, obviously, lame duck president, but he's doing anything but being lame in the office. He's very, very busy, but he's also making a lot of changes through executive orders, through the Republican Congress. Are these changes irreversible for the next administration when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, when we talk about laying off so many federal workers? Can we recover from that? Will it take years to undo what he has done if the next administration chooses that?
Right. If the next administration chooses to reverse course on some of these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, if the next administration does choose to reemphasize a certain level of inclusion of ethnic groups or various protected classes in senior levels of decision making, it's going to take years for a number of reasons. One of the reasons, of course, is the fear of federal employees who were laid off.
And really quick, in the last 30 seconds we have here, what's the economic forecast when it comes to financially, the Black community in America, communities of color?
Predominantly, the forecast is very similar to what it has been, which is unfortunate because there was an upward trajectory under the first administration of Trump where Black Americans were experiencing exponential rises in entrepreneurship and other business opportunities. In this case, because the Small Business Administration has been gutted, because a lot of the federal aid has been removed, because a lot of the federal employment positions that historically Black Americans have used to rise from lower to middle to then second or third generation upper class have been removed, safety nets have been removed, health insurance premiums, subsidies have been removed. The predicament of Black America is not great, but it is more of a plateau than a precipitous fall.
All right. Dr. Dietrich von Biedenfeld, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, and we'll just have to see what happens and watch the clock. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with more Factor Uncensored in just a moment.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're discussing the church and how so many young people are saying no, at least some young people. They don't want to be a part of a mega church, one of those big churches, because they say those churches go too far. We made a stop at Beulah Land in the 3rd Ward. Let's get to it. Church and Dr. Ruth's home. Glad for you to invite us here for the first time. I've been trying to get here and finally made it here, and we brought 2 guests with us. We're picking up where we last left off, Natoya Allen and First Class. And guys, has anything changed? You had a chance to sit through Dr. Ruth's sermon today. Your thoughts about what you heard?
First and foremost, thanks for opening your arms and letting me come into the church today. Beautiful sermon. It was something that I think I definitely needed because I had missed that space. I've been missing this space. So I got to come in today and see the people, feel the word. And it was definitely something that I feel like it was much needed. So I appreciate both of y'all for that.
Absolutely. And for those who are not familiar, this goes back to a segment about a month ago when we talked about rap artist T.I. saying he just didn't feel comfortable in the church anymore. He believed in God, but he just didn't believe in going to church to pray and give back in that form. Natoya, you wanted to do your own investigation and learn more about the woman, Dr. Ruth, and you found out some interesting stuff.
Yeah, she's a very interesting person. I found out that she does a lot for the community. She's been doing it for a while. Oh, I researched you, Dr. Ruth. Oh, you did? Whoa. And I was pretty impressed, but I don't want it to be like a misconception because we never really said smaller churches. We were
come on now.
We were talking about the mega churches.
Now you talking about smaller churches, large churches.
We were talking about bigger churches where they passed the collection plate 6, 7 times. Here she only did it 1 time. So I mean
So you would be fine with Dr. Ruth's church or a similar church around the country.
Right, smaller churches. I grew up in a smaller church. So I believe in smaller churches. Like I was talking to Dr. Ruth, I believe in small groups as well. So like Bible study, stuff like that. I've always believed in the smaller setting, just not the bigger money grabbing setting because I feel like it's a money grab.
There are some out there, but of course, when I got here, when I walked in the door, when I was pulling up, I didn't feel that. I didn't think that was going to be in that atmosphere at all. So I do agree with Nate saying it was more of the aiming at the bigger corporations, and we didn't want to take away from the main purpose, which is God.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of, when I felt when I came in, and that's what I think the best thing about it was I still felt the word.
So Dr. Ruth, we're getting closer and closer to a second recommitment baptism for these 2
Baptismal
here.
pool is right up behind these curtains.
But your thoughts about what they had to say after hearing you and your sermon here in your church today?
Well, I think they are both just amazing young people, and I appreciate their views. And so one of the things I like to do is, I call it co-mentoring. I love listening to young people. I have a son about their age. And so I listen to him, I teach him, he teaches me. I learn a lot from him. And in this age, we have to do that. But I want us all to remember that the church, the black church, I hate to say it like that, but I have to say it like that, for our culture, for our people, it's always been the church. And I'm not against any church, large or small, but most of the churches in America are under 100 people in membership. I'm not against growing larger. I'm not against mega, and it always seems to get around money, right. All right, but it does take money to run the church. Right. You when you go on your podcast and you get monetized and all of that, or you sell a property, you're in business. And there is a business side to the church, and it needs to be handled that way. It shouldn't be the focus. It needs to be God. It needs to be the people. It needs to be us growing into the image of God and being the best that we can be, and being a blessing to each other and a blessing to our people and the world. That's why we're here. And I think that's what the church is about.
We'll pick up that conversation when we come back. Stay with us. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored, why some young people say they won't be a part of a mega church. Let's get back to our conversation with Dr. Ruth. Dr. Ruth, though, they do have a point when you talk about some of the large mega churches where we've seen in the headlines, and those are the ones that make news for outrageous claims, demands on their congregation. Do you see that while you also say, you know, it's a business, and we understand that it's a business?
No, I said there's a business aspect to it.
Okay, there's a business
aspect. It's not
aspect.
a business, okay.
But when you have some church leaders asking for unreasonable amounts for individuals, calling out individuals in church, is that a problem? Does that hurt you? Do you think they should address that when we talk about the bigger picture, when it's religion, when those larger churches just go too far?
Go to another church. Just go to another church. You don't have to sit there. Our people here, we read the Bible. We know what the Word of God says. We are free to do the things that we need to do and to grow and to be the people that we need to be. And so we don't subscribe to that. We don't have, $100, $1,000 lines and all that. But we do spell million, M-I-L-L-I-O-N. And so if someone decides they're going to come and they want to gift the church, that's fine. It takes money to do what we do. And this little group that you see right here has underwritten everything that we've done, and we are debt-free, all right, because we do what we can afford to do. The Bible says this: you cannot serve God and money. You cannot serve God and mammon, and here we serve God. And if you find a church that's serving money, that's wrong, the wrong menu.
All right. Latoya, first class, when she says find another church, don't worry about that church that may be an issue that may bother you in their practices. Your thoughts about that?
Oh, I think you should go where you feel wanted or where you feel comfortable spending your money. So, I do believe that. I feel like sometimes they do make a big deal out of that stuff when they can easily just leave.
Right.
I feel like a lot of it is for clickbait.
Yeah.
Because you can just leave.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said. You don't think about it like that, really, at first. Just go to another church. But just to give an emphasis on what's going on, you got the pastor saying, hey, I need $10,000 right now. And some of those people been down at that church for a while, so that it might be a little harder for them to move on to another church. But I hear somebody demanding $10,000, then I understand that it's not the Lord that's leading, it's money. So this might be a little easier for us to move on.
Well, let me be clear. I want to be clear. If we build an edifice and a bill is due, and someone has been blessed, all right, in the church to have the money to help to do that, then we need to be able to say that and say it out loud. It's not a holdup. If you have the money and you want to give it, God blesses a cheerful giver. But one of our elders says he will accept from one that's not so cheerful. So it's not about that. It's about the people. And so having said that, can I say a word about T.I.?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So now T.I., when he sings and does his music and rapping and all that, what's that about? It's about money. You don't do that for free. That's your job. You learn, and he learned how to present himself and all that in the church.
We'll pick up this conversation right after the break. You don't want to miss it. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Tonight we're talking to some young people who say they don't want to be a part of a mega church. Let's get back to our conversation at Beulah Land in the 3rd Ward.
First Class, your thoughts?
She hit it on the head. I don't really know. But in all honesty, I do agree. He shouldn't be the person that we're listening to in this realm. Does it, I want to say, resonate with other people? When he's talking about things that may be popular at that time, yes. But I agree with you. T.I. shouldn't be the person we're listening to about church. And I had to come and get my own personal experience, and I think that he needs to go into that without the celebrity mindset and whatever it may be. And I think he'll have another mindset as well.
Latoya?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that T.I. is the person we should be going to for our spiritual advice.
We're going to Dr. Ruth from now on.
Is it necessary to get to this agreement that we see with you three by simply having that conversation and the experience that you had, First Class, to come here and see it for yourself?
Without a doubt, because I had been so distant from the church, I didn't know what I was missing. You know what I mean? So when I came in, I felt it. And it's just something that I think I needed, and not just for today, just not for the segment, but just moving on in my journey and what I want to do moving forward. So again, I encourage people to come in and listen and touch the people and get to really see what it's like inside the walls, and then your perception to change. And I think that's what happened to me today.
And Latoya, for you, is it also very important that the person that you're getting that sermon from is out also doing the work in the community?
Absolutely. Because I don't respect the person who builds a church in the neighborhood and you don't get out in the neighborhood. You don't do nothing for the community. What are you even here for? You want all of these people to come and essentially help you pay for your church, but you're not doing the work in the community. It just doesn't match up.
Can I say a little word there?
Sure.
See, the church is not the building or just the building. It's the people, and that's what we talked about today. And the onus is on the community too. Okay, I get out in the community, but we'll have to talk about that a little bit more. But let me just say this, or ask this question. Do you really want a community where there is no church? Do you really want a community where darkness is on every corner, but there is no church and no light? And so let's just think about that.
Do we have that in Houston? I think it's a church on every corner.
I hope so. We need more. We need more. Because it's funny because when we see 7-Elevens or cleaners or liquor stores or all that, I never hear anybody saying, "Oh, it's too many. Oh, yeah, there's too many liquor stores on this corner." No, but I do hear
about convenience.
Yeah. So let's have a church on every corner. Let's have a church in every house.
Come on.
Church is where one or two are gathered.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we want to thank you guys for coming back to visit. Anybody want to walk up and get baptized?
She always got me wrapped around.
You're wound up.
Every time. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. God bless you. I appreciate what you all are doing. You're such an example of a strong businesswoman doing the real estate thing. You have gotten into the podcasting and all that. So you can teach me some stuff about that.
Come on.
And we can go. That's what we need to do. That's why we're here, for each other.
Hey, I'm all for it.
So thanks for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you guys for
thank
being
you.
Here. Absolutely. And for those who want to know more about your church, where can we find Beulah Land and more information?
Well, we do have a website, and you can go on beulahlandchurch.org. You can find us there, and you just come by.
Mm-hmm. They'll catch you on the fact.
Yeah, catch me on our
First Class, where can we find out more about you? You're also physical fitness, health as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm a personal trainer. First Class on Instagram. First Class in on Instagram and all platforms. Class and Session podcast. Please tune in. We talk about different things from the pushing the culture forward, persevering and everything. So again, just tune in for me.
Latoya?
Yes, I have a website. My website is www.natoyaallen.com. You can also find me on Instagram, natoya.allen. I'm a teacher and I do real estate.